everybody. Dan Illman, Mike Beer, the DRF race of the day for Thursday, January the 12th, race number 6 at Gulfstream Park. We're kicking off the 50-cent pick 4, and we're going 7.5 furlongs on the turf. This race for 3-year-old fillies. Let's take a look at this field. It's a first level allowance with a $75,000 claiming option, and please scan the QR code for race of the day access on mobile. According to our colleague Mike Welsh in his DRF race advance, the number 8 Isabel Alexandra, who raced in stakes competition here 5 days ago, will scratch. Mike, it's kind of an interesting race going 7.5 furlongs. There's some strength on the outside. I wonder if Peyote Sisters takes a bit more money, dropping out of the grade 3 Jimmy Durante.
Yeah, I can see that happening. It's going to be, first of all, it's going to be very interesting to see how this race just gets bet overall, because I think there are a few different ways to go, Dan. Listen, these horses, obviously, they're very lightly raced 3-year-old fillies, so they still have a long way to go, but there's a chance that this is a pretty strong race. There could be some real quality in here.
Let's take a look at the Timeform US pace projector. At first glance, I didn't think the pace would be hot. You see, it is a red bar scenario. According to our friends at Timeform US, visit timeformus.com. Once the scratch is made official, this pace projector will automatically update. 30 Thou Kelvin does have some speed. Mohawk Trail went gate to wire in her second lifetime start. I think she'll show speed. I think Peyote Sisters is going to be close, but I don't really think she's a burner.
Yeah, I don't either. They could certainly go forward with her, but I don't think she's going to be up there, especially if this is a fast pace. The 6 isn't likely to be part of that, but both the 2 and the 5 could go, Dan. Even the 4, Agua Dulce, who is dropping out of the Tepin, is a horse who's run well once out of 3 starts. That's when they put her on the lead, so maybe they'll get aggressive with her. There are 3 stretch out sprinters in the 3 outside posts, so either 1 or 2 or all 3 of them could go. There's a chance this pace is fast.
Breaking from the inside is the number 1 Metaphysical, who pushed a slow pace in her maiden win over the Tapeta surface of this race, an off-turf heat on Boxing Day. You see Metaphysical on the outside. Again, the pace was very slow, 50 to the half, 114 and 1 for 3/4, and Metaphysical is game to graduate in start number 5.
Yeah, it took a little bit of a step forward here and does just enough here to get the job done. It's not a super impressive performance, but it's also not on the grass. So, maybe you want to hold out some hope that she's better on the turf. She still has to prove that, though.
Like the 4 Agua Dulce, the 2 30 Thou Kelvin is also dropping out of the Tepin Stakes at Aqueduct back in November. Didn't do a lot of running that day, was hung out wide for some of the way. The prior start in an off-turf race showed tactical speed and got the job done. Still trying to figure out what surface is best for this one.
Yeah, I would just say more than anything else, and I'm with you, I don't know if she's better on turf or dirt, but certainly deserves a chance to show what she can do on this surface just based on the 2 starts. The Tepin last time, she didn't run great in there, obviously. She finished last, but it was at a time when you wanted to be inside on those Aqueduct turf courses, and she never got anywhere near the rail and just sort of totally gave it up through the stretch. And they're the only other turf start at Saratoga in a really strong maiden race, and she went a very fast pace in there under pressure, and I thought did really well just to hold third.
Up next is the number 3 Scottish Symphony. This is a very lightly raced daughter of Mendelssohn. She made her career debut in a state-bred stakes race over the Tapeta at Presque Isle Downs, finished second, and then she graduated over Woodbine's Tapeta in this race, her first start around 2 turns, a race in where she got up close to a very slow pace, 25 and 2, 51 to the half. She took over at just the right time, and she's going to hold sway. She has a turf pedigree. I'm just not sure what she beat in this race.
Yeah, me either. And it's not like she wins it so impressively considering the trip she pulled in here, which was just a perfect one. But she did kick on pretty well, Dan. She did always hold off her stablemate who was running at her there at the end. I thought all in all, it was a pretty good performance, and she's bred to be a turf horse.
Mark Casse has gotten off to a very hot start during the Gulfstream Championship meet, and this filly has a strong turf pedigree. Mendelssohn, 17% winners with turf routers, and Scottish Symphony is a half-sister to Farhan Mura, a graded stakes winner on the lawn. The 4 is Agua Dulce going out for Todd Pletcher. We talked about that she ran in the Tepin. She was well beaten that day, but in her prior start, going 2 turns at the Belmont at Aqueduct meet, she went gate to wire. She seems tactical.
Yeah, we'll see what they try to do with her here. I really don't think she's fast enough to make the lead, even if they want it, Dan, unless nobody else is going in here. The one time when she did break her maiden on the front end, super slow pace. She had no trouble making the front end. Nobody went after her. They just let her control the action. And I felt like she just took advantage a little bit there. She was also off the rail in the tep-in, but man, she did not run well there.
And of course, the tep-in was won in gate-to-wire fashion by a rail-skimming favorite. The fourth-place horse from that race came back to win at Turfway over their synthetic surface, a 1X allowance with a buyer in the 70s. Mohawk Trail is up next. I like seeing horses that show improved speed second time out. Mohawk Trail certainly did so, switching to turf and stretching out from 6 furlongs to a mile. Here's Mohawk Trail winning a maiden optional claiming event at Gulfstream Park. She went to the lead, and I thought she went the first quarter pretty quick, 23 seconds flat, Mike, and she's just going to hold on late over a couple of minor next out winners.
Yeah, she's pretty game to hold on here, too. You're right. She did have to run a little bit to make the lead. It feels like everybody's got a shot at her here, Dan, but she's just going to keep plugging on, and she will make it to the wire here. Sort of saved at the end there, but she got the job done, and she did go pretty fast early.
The 6 is Pelota Sisters going out for Graham Motion. Now, her only career victory came in gate-to-wire fashion over an extremely soft turf course at Delaware Park. She got to the lead in that race. She was game to hold on. She seems a little bit green. Motion took a shot, ran her in the Jimmy Durante last time out. I think that was a little bit tough, and the trip might not have worked out. It certainly wasn't as candy as the race before.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I don't think you could watch the Jimmy Durante back and think, oh, she got really unlucky there, and could have won that race. I didn't look at it that way, but she didn't get a great trip in there. And I felt like all in all, she ran pretty well. The first time they stretched her out at Saratoga, she was in that 30 Thou Calvin race where the pace was just too fast for her. It felt like they wanted to go forward from the outside post, but they were rolling up front and she chased and tired.
The number 7 is State of Mind, who will be making her turf debut for the excellent Woodbine-based conditioner Josie Carroll. But when you look at this pedigree, turf shouldn't be a problem at all by turf champion and perennial leading turf stallion Kitten's Joy, a half-sister to Amertum, who was graded stakes placed on the turf. This horse last time out got wired by the favorite in the Mazarine. Maybe that race was too tough, and certainly the pace didn't work to her advantage.
Yeah, those things are true. She didn't run great in the Mazarine either, but the race wasn't run to suit her right off of a maiden win. I actually felt like her maiden win was pretty nice, Dan. Had a lot of ground to make up at the top of the stretch, and she put in a pretty good run there. So to me, it sort of suggests she has some talent. You've already talked about her pedigree a little. The Kitten's Joys, you feel like they want turf. This is a huge Juddmonte female family, a bunch of really good turf horses. I mean, I think this is going to be her surface, and she might have some pace in front of her here.
We'll scratch the 8, Isabel Alexandra, and we'll move on to the number 9, Riding Pretty. Her only 2 bad races came, well, against stakes competition. She was probably overmatched in both of those races, but she dropped out of a stake last time out to run well in this first level allowance, going a mile at Gulfstream on December the 16th. I thought all in all, the trip eventually worked out.
I did too. I thought she got a really good trip and ride in here. She's got a shot at this thing, and she's doing her very best here, Dan. I don't think she has a real excuse not to get the job done, but she just falls short at the end. She ran fine in here with a good trip, but she is a horse who likes to sit back and make a run, and she might have something to run at here.
New Jersey bred might have a little bit more focus with blinkers on. The 6th-place horse from that race came back to place in a first-level allowance on the Tapeta with a 69 buyer. Firing Bullets is up next. Now, she's only raced once previously on the turf for Cassie. That was a 5/8 of a mile stakes race at Woodbine. She won that race. She then tried Males in the display 2 starts back. She ran an okay third despite failing to change leads. Last time out, I wonder if 6 was a little bit sharp, and that post probably didn't help at Turfway either.
Yeah, wide last time from a really tough post. I don't care about that race. Her prior form was very good. She's back to turf here, Dan. And, it just it feels to me, the distance to me is the least of my worries. I think she is, especially on the dam side, she's bred to stretch out, but she kind of does look like a sprinter to me. And I wonder if she's really going to handle the added ground here in the 2 turns from an outside post.
Maroon Bells is up next, the number 11 debut winner for Tom Proctor, going 5/8 of a mile over the synthetic surface. Let's watch Maroon Bells. And you look at this pedigree, Mike, you see she's by Warfront out of an Australian bred mare. You'd think maybe 5/8 would be sharp. So I'm willing to give her a couple of extra points for running down these leaders late.
I like the way that she ran this horse down too. It's hard to tell how good this race is, Dan, but this horse was never that far away. And there was a brief moment upper stretch where I felt like maybe she wasn't really going to kick in that hard, but she actually laid it down there at the end to get up. I thought that was overall, I thought that was a pretty nice debut.
Warfront, one of the top turf stallions, 16% winners with turf ratters. The sixth finisher from the race we just saw came back to graduate, but it was on dirt with a 69 Beyer. Speaking of dirt, that's where the 12 Nucci made both of her lifetime starts. She was a debut winner, showing speed. Second time out, more of an even performance, but she caught slop. There's a little bit of turf. I don't love the connects on turf, only 9%, but the dam was a stakes winner on the surface, and this dam's foaled 4 turf winners already.
Yeah, a little bit of turf on the bottom here. I'm with you on the connects. I don't really love them on the grass, but there's certainly enough pedigree for them to try it here. A horse who it was a maiden claiming race, but did win first time out sprinting, and just, last time just never had a chance to get forward, with some trouble early in that race. Sloppy track is also an excuse. So this horse could certainly pull off a little bit of a surprise here.
Before we get to our top selections, please click the subscribe button on the Daily Racing Form YouTube channel for the latest DRF videos. Top pick time for our Thursday race of the day. I had a whale of a time narrowing it down in here. I'm going to go deep in my pick 4. Firing Bullets might be a sprinter. She's faced some pretty good competition up at Woodbine. I like her getting back to the turf. The barn's going well, and she should get some pace to run at. Mike's State of Mind, I think you made a very good case about her race 2 starts back. She looked really good finishing off that field, and she might get a completely different pace scenario than last time.
Yeah, that's what I'm hoping for. I like this horse switching the turf here. I'm just going to hope she pulls a trip here and can make a run into this thing at a price. I felt like the 2 was the horse to beat, Dan. I agree with you. It's hard to tell what her surface is, but I think both of her turf races she has excuses for.
She draws an excellent post position, picks up Lasix and Arad Ortiz. 7-2-6-3 for Mike, 10-12-3-6 for me. Should be a fun way to kick off a 50-cent pick 4 at Gulfstream Park on Thursday. It's race number 6, and it's your DRF race of the day. Best of luck.